Big production.
Yo! Fuck it. All right, let's break down some of these tech stocks, right? So let's look at what we got. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tech stocks that I'd like to watch very often, right? We're starting off with Aapl. So this is the weekly time frame. Let's look at the 3-day. Yeah, give me that. The 3-day looks like we're breaking out of that downward channel. Again, Apple's stock chart looks very similar to, for example, the Nasdaq right now. Straight up, look at the Nasdaq, similar downward channel. Again, the major thing I'm kind of looking here on Aapl, aside from all of these drawings, right? It's a lot, right? This is the zone. Once we break above this resistance point, I think that's going to be the de facto line in the sand that kind of gives us the signal that, listen, this bear market's done, man. It's time to go mode, because this is a major zone that's been holding us back since over a year. So December 2021, maybe mid-December. So mid-December, early December, we've been struggling to break above this channel that's holding us back as resistance. As you can see here, there's like a morning star pattern on this 3-day time frame. So that is indicating that we are going to get that push. It's kind of telling us that we are going to come up into this zone. We're going to come, maybe battle it a little bit here. Maybe that'll take some time before we push back up into that range. Again, this is all depending on if no more bearish news completely drops us. So we have to pay attention to, there's going to be job numbers coming out. There's going to be, I believe this upcoming month in November is going to be, like it talks about like the election. There's going to be news about the CPI reports, the inflation reports. What else is there going to be? Earnings reports, interest rates reports. All of this stuff is going to be happening, and that's going to cause volatility in the markets. Now, if a lot of that stuff gets bad reaction, the market will go to the downside, which means Apple will be going to the downside, right? And if you notice, I just said this Morningstar pattern is going to push, it indicates that it could push us upward. But if these things occur in the markets and all these negative and these bearish news releases come out and it makes the price go lower, obviously what I'm saying is wrong. So we have to be open-minded to both sides. But overall, that's what I'm watching here. Anytime we bought off this low range, kind of retesting 2020 zones, it's been a buy. So again, we came back into that zone within pretty much 2 days. It's out of there. AMD. Well, let's delete that. We got AMD here. Huge channel. Look how far we've come back. $55 and we were at 160. That's crazy. Down 65% on AMD. Again, look at this, right? This is back in 2020. 1, 2, 3, that's like 9 days, maybe a few weeks of just pretty much straight green. And we went up. I remember playing options on this and making bank. Like literally 33% in like 2 weeks. So there was no base developed. Of course, we're going to come back into this zone. I think if we can hold this range, right, this $57 to $46 range, if we could hold that and develop a base, that'll be our new demand zone. So that's what I'm watching on AMD. Nvda, again, I mentioned them in the video I made before, but this massive descending wedge or descending triangle, however you want to put it, into this zone is bullish in my opinion. I want to see us develop a base and eventually work our way to break up out of this area. We need to establish this as our demand zone, so it might take a few weeks or months to do that. We have Shopify. Again, this one's I don't want to sleep on this. Massive there's a divergence in the RSI and the stock chart, and there's a large divergence. So what that means is it's indicating that there's supposed to be a reversal in price. But I think the longer that this develops, the longer this bullish divergence takes to develop, the larger the pop will be when everything is all said and done, with all the drama around the macroeconomics of the world. So again, this one's a big name. It could be huge returns in the future, right? Like If we're thinking that this stock was once at $2,000 a share, then they had a split. It's kind of way too optimistic to be like, oh yeah, what happens if we go back to 2,000 a share? All right, so let's throw that out the window and let's just look at, imagine if we go back to $150 to $200 a share. That is more like it, right? Like, now let's look at this, right? Like, we go back to AMD, right? Look at this. We fly right up into this zone and then we continue this bull trend. No base is developed. There's no time spent in this 57 to $73 range. We straight up just go from 57 straight up to 73. Okay? Look what happens now. We come back into this zone again, right? So the same thing is going to happen here on Shopify. Look at this. We dump right down into this area. Eventually, over time, we're going to eventually come right back up into this zone here, right? This price range. We're going to come right back into there eventually. So that's how I'm looking at Shopify. Like, this stock is, there's a massive trade here. I don't care what anybody says. I'm doubling down on my thought process on this trade. There's a massive opportunity in Shopify, so I wouldn't sleep on it. It's one of my favorite tech stocks right now. Even though it got butchered, I still think the opportunity is massive. We're pretty much right back to our mean, right? If the mean here was this line that I'm about to draw, we're like below the mean now. So eventually, right, if this is going to go 45 degrees over time, we're going to have to come back up into that range. So that's how I'm kind of thinking of Shopify when it comes to any specific trade or position. Microsoft, again, very similar to Apple in the sense that once we break above this upper trend line of this channel, I think it's go mode. We got Google. Again, right? Look, anytime Google has had a massive dip, it's come straight back up over time. I think that Google having a split gives a lot of, regular investors really good opportunity to, like, get Google at a decent price. Like, Google's not going away. They are the search engine that everyone uses, right? Google is a massive company that makes crazy profits off their ads, right? And they own YouTube and they have other assets. So Google's a great buy, like, especially after taking damage like this at $100 a share. Like, that's wild. This one's a more speculative play that I'm watching in the tech space, but it's Sklz. They're a gaming company. High risk, high reward is the way I think of it. This stock could pretty much fumble, but if it does turn around and we're watching it from what it could do from, like, just simply a risk to reward perspective, that's why I'm watching it. Even if this stock wanted to go back to, let's say, $5 a share or $8 a share, right? That's like a potential 600% trade, 500% trade, right? So it's definitely something I want to keep an eye on, simply because if the momentum comes, this one's going to explode, and I want to partake in that for sure. So we have AI here. I'm kind of watching. I had a trade idea on this a while ago, but we can delete that. I'm kind of watching to see if we get that J-Lo booty rounding bottom developing, and that's why I have this pattern here, this like little chart tool developed. I want to see, are we going to create that base, right? Are we going to create that cup? That big booty cup that's going to launch us up above. Again, this one, high risk, high reward. So here we have Tesla, similar to Aapl, but this one holds up way better than most tech stocks. Less volatile, in a clear range. It could be shaping up a head and shoulders if you're looking at it like that from a weekly or monthly perspective, right? Could be a head and shoulders. But overall, I think Tesla is a tech company, right? They're not just electric vehicles. They're doing the robots, the solar. Elon's doing too many things. And I think that if you want to invest in Elon, Tesla is a great way. Don't sleep on it. Tesla is a great way to participate in what Elon's trying to do for the world. And hey, man, the momentum traders love Elon's shit. Like, anytime we've bought off this lower trend line, I wonder what the tape looks like in the options market, because I'm sure he's been making options traders money all since 2020, right? Like, again, this stock is like, it's too good of a stock to kind of take out of your list. They're probably one of the larger ones that's weighted on the S&P and the Nasdaq now, right? So again, something to pay attention to. Lastly, we have PLTR, inverse head and shoulders. This is what I'm watching. If we are going to get this market rally, I want to see PLTR get the breakout here. We're fully set up on the weekly time frame, right? We spent a lot of time down in this zone creating this pattern. I want to see us get that breakout and then continue for a while and potentially come back up into this zone here. So this is the area I'm watching on PLTR, a potential trade up into this $10 range. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I think that would kind of signify that maybe a bottom's in and then we're going to go sideways for a little bit longer. But for the tech videos, that's the breakdown for today. Peace, guys.